What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Common Folk Podcast. This episode, we wanted to try to do a quick introduction. We did the recording and just kind of got lost in the conversation and didn't go through many of the details. So, quick introduction here before we get started. Good friend of mine, Nick Fitch, met him in Lincoln when I was going to college. Morgan and I both did. He's been a good buddy. Stayed in contact over the years. Another one of these guys who lives in Nebraska, has run his own business. He's a DJ. Nick the Quick is his DJ name. That's what he goes by. His company, his organization called Quick Pro DJs. That's where you can find him if you guys are interested after the podcast. On Instagram, on Facebook, on the socials, Quick Pro DJs. So, man, I hope you guys enjoy this. It was a lot of fun for us to catch up. Had some good memories, and it's cool hearing about how Nick's put this together and how he kind of stumbled into this whole DJ thing, even though his degree has something to do with the German language. So, pretty cool stuff. Again, appreciate you guys listening. Check us out on all the different platforms. Follow along, subscribe, comment. All those things that the platforms like, helping us grow the podcast. It's been going great. We're really enjoying it. So thank you so much for following along. And without further ado, here's our interview with Nick.
Sun rolling over acres of farmland, shining the light on the world I grew up in. No name dirt roads about to get torn up, all going down in a town you never heard of. Hey everybody, welcome to the Common Folk Podcast with Ben, Morgan, and Andy.
Back on the podcast, man.
Yes, we are. Now, hold on.
There it
Now
is.
we're ready.
There it
now
is.
we're ready.
I was listening to our last one myself.
You do that?
I listened to it quite a bit, actually,
okay.
yeah.
I do too. Like more than once?
Probably 4 or 5 times,
Oh,
actually.
stop.
Yeah.
Serious about this.
Wow.
Yeah. And,
Narcissistic.
so, like, I'm a pretty calm kind of dude, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, the intro, when I start talking, it blows.
What?
Like, it's like it starts, like, Birgit's going on the music.
Yeah.
Everything's cool. And then here comes Ben. Hey, welcome to Common Folk.
I actually have thought that because I've listened to other
Yeah.
podcasts, and your voice should be excited
Yeah, it
more.
sucks.
But
I like
hey,
it. I like it. I feel like it reels me in. Like, I'm too excited. I'm over here. And Ben's like, would you just shut up and actually get to the show?
You're always your biggest critic, though. Like,
That's the truth.
I don't think anything of it when I listen to
You don't?
Nope.
Oh, well, that's good to know.
well,
Yeah.
I actually have. And I'm not just saying that because you have, but I listen to a podcast that you normally listen to, and he's pretty animated in the open.
a lot of people get like that. Like, I'm never going to get crazy.
No,
like,
but that's not
okay.
you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's who you are. Like,
Yeah.
This is Ben
Yeah.
Evers with Farm Focus.
Yeah.
you should be who you are.
Yeah.
Like, that's part of,
Yeah.
I think, part of, like, the name Common Folk. It's the podcast.
That's
like,
the truth.
you're not going to be anything other than what you
Yep.
are.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Who is this mysterious voice
This mysterious.
that
Oh.
I'm hearing?
I don't know.
sorry.
I don't know. Who do we got here?
We have an interview today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, who is this guy?
One of my good buddies. So let's give a little bit of background. So one of my guys here from back in the college days, and I've got a couple of stories to tell, by the way.
Oh, they're going to probably be real good.
No,
Okay.
they're
I'm
not
trying to
good.
think where he might be going with
Yeah,
this.
yeah, we're not
Oh.
going to get too crazy.
Boy,
Okay.
I was going to say, do you want to hear these, Morgan?
I don't think there's
I don't know if
anything
I've
she
been
can't
there. I might
She
have been
knows.
there.
Oh, man.
She was involved, wasn't she?
I'm confused. I don't know
For the
where you're
most
going
part.
with this.
Yeah.
Just go ahead, Ben.
All right. So, by now, let's put a little timeline on it. So, we're 40.
Mm-hmm.
We're the 4-0.
The big
I'm 43.
4-0.
This guy's 43.
Okay.
Andy, how are you, Andy?
40.
40.
40, all
We've
right.
already established
So we got 3 40s and we got 40.
Because I thought he was like 25.
So
Thank
it was
you.
years ago. It was like 2001, 2000. We make our way to college. So Nick, and we'll get into this in a minute, but you were what at that time, sophomore-ish, junior?
In
College?
2000, I would have been about probably a junior.
Yeah. So Morgan and I moved to Lincoln. We go to the University of Nebraska. Decide that that's what we're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. Morgan's sister's in a sorority.
Mm-hmm.
She decides to join it. Her sister's husband, which by the time, like, it was well decided that they were, like, lifelong partners.
Sure.
Right? I mean, you knew them at that point.
Yeah.
So Dusty, he gets me involved in the fraternity.
Right.
It's not your typical fraternity.
Especially for Lincoln.
Yeah. A lot of good dudes, but it was different because there was no house.
Right.
It was early on. How close were you involved in the founding?
I was part of the
You were one of the guys.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't
First
think I knew that.
class.
Yep. So the Pi Kappa Alpha fraternity and the
I
University
think
of Nebraska.
Dusty was too, if I remember right.
Okay.
He had to have been close to it.
Yeah.
University of Nebraska Lincoln. So these boys were starting up something that was special. I recognized that it was special. It was cool. So got involved. We didn't, like I said, we didn't have a house. We were doing our thing. It wasn't this crazy, like, people's typical view.
Yeah, it allowed for a little bit of a different aspect to the fraternity life. Like, for me, the big difference was not having a house. I was still able to live in the dorms. I lived off campus for a little bit, but then came back to campus when I found out that there was an RA position that I could probably get. I knew the RD knew me. He kind of was like, you should apply for this. And then that became free room and board. Like,
Oh, is that what they got?
yeah, as an RA, you all of a sudden have no rent and no food costs.
I didn't like my RA.
Really?
It's usually the way it works.
So did people
I
like
kind of want
you?
to hear this story. I think so, but hey, maybe not. Maybe I was oblivious.
This is
No,
the
I
first
think-
RA anyone ever liked right here.
I think they liked me. I never
You didn't crack down on the alcohol
I
and
never
the noise?
busted anybody on any alcohol or drugs.
But,
But-
did you run
I
into some? You were
could
just-
have.
Okay, that's what I was going to say. But you kind
I
of like...
turned the blind eye.
Yeah.
In fact, I remember, a couple guys that were also in the fraternity. I totally saw alcohol in their room one time. And John Wilkie and he's going to listen to this podcast and be like, "You didn't remember my name?" Oh, Kirk Hansen.
Wilkie and
They were
Oh.
roommates.
Yep. Wilkie and
They
Kirk.
were roommates,
Yep.
and one time I walked in there. They lived on my floor, and I walked into their room and cases of beer, and I'm like, "Are you kidding me right now?" Like, blind eye, turn, like, say hi, but like, I'm out of here.
I really hope that those guys listen to this. Like, somehow this ends up.
They will. I'll make sure that they listen.
Man, I want to hear from them. I love those guys, man. We had
you
so
haven't
much
talked
fun.
to them. They're not that far from
It's
you.
been a while. It's
They
been a
live
couple
in
of years.
Elkhorn,
Yeah, they were Elkhorn boys.
if I remember
Yep.
right.
Yep. So
Sorry, that was a little sidetrack on the RA.
sidetrack. Yep. So
Yeah.
we did that. So we're down in Lincoln. We're having a blast. We're doing all of our thing. Fraternities, like, I'm getting really involved, doing all my thing there, meeting guys like you, connecting, having a great time, building my future, right? Like, you guys are role models. You know what I mean? I'm seeing what you guys are doing, following in the footsteps, those kinds of things.
Sure.
So then, not too long. How far were we into our freshman year? Maybe halfway through?
Christmas.
Christmas, yeah. It was Christmas, yep. So we were back for Christmas break. Morgan gives me a call.
I know where that's going. Oh, man.
I'm pregnant.
Yeah. Yep.
So I'm like,
Oh my
boy.
God, my
I
life's
remember
over.
that. I remember it.
Here we go.
I remember it.
Yep. So we decide, amongst ourselves. I mean, we're not married or anything, obviously.
So young, too.
Yep. 19 years old, somewhere in that range.
Right.
We decide, all right, well, we have to figure out how to make this happen,
Right.
right? So the fraternity's having weekly meetings and these kinds of things. And I tell whoever was in charge at the time, like, hey, guys, I got an announcement to make. You know what I mean? So they're like, all right, you'll get some time tonight.
Right.
So we go to these things. We're all, like, in suits and
Right,
stuff.
every Monday.
Yeah, like, we're all dressed up. Like my suit was probably 3 times too big.
Yes, we still have it. It's too big for you now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like I feel like a badass. Like I'm walking down the streets, like in my cool stuff, dressed up, everything. You know.
Suit, right?
Yeah.
Yep. But we go to the meeting, and so I'll never forget this. So I get my chance to stand up. I get to talk, and I'm like, all right, guys. Well, this is things are changing for me.
Right.
You know. So my girlfriend just called me. She's pregnant. Like all this. And I'm heartbroken because, like, we were having so much fun. We were doing our thing, but I don't know what it's like to have a kid. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But I do know that I got to take the responsibility, right? Yeah. I'm crying a little bit, going through the thing. Main thing I remember. So I say that. Nick Fitch, my buddy right here across the table from me.
Oh boy, what did I do?
Oh boy,
I don't. I'm trying to remember.
Raises his hand.
Oh, shoot.
I'm like, yeah, Nick, what's up, buddy?
Did I say something? A joke?
He goes, are you sure it's yours?
Oh my gosh.
No, I was joking.
What the hell?
I totally forgot I said that.
I ain't no hoe.
Because you said you must have said Morgan's pregnant.
Yeah, I'll never forget that.
You didn't specify which
breaking the
girlfriend
ice,
was
breaking
pregnant.
the
So
ice.
everyone starts
and that's
laughing,
what
I'm
happened.
sure.
Yeah.
So I mean, because I'm wrecked. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
And then you say that, and I just start busting out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm kind of that way. Like, if things are too serious, okay, I don't intentionally do it, really.
Yes.
It's just like something comes out, like,
Hey, why
say
not?
something stupid just
Yeah.
to crack a joke.
Yeah, lighten the mood, lighten the tension.
Right.
Everyone gets it that this is a life-altering time
Right.
for Ben and he's going through.
God, now I'm like reliving it because I wouldn't have remembered that if he hadn't said it.
You're already laughing at his suit. I mean, so you were already in that frame of mind.
And I've never heard this story.
Yeah. I don't think I've heard it since. Like, nobody's reminded me of that time until now.
Yeah, it was funny.
And your daughter is how old? You said
she's almost 21.
Right.
Yeah.
So this was 21 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just so fast forward to now. Today she leaves, heads back to college because she's.
Oh, was she here? Like
she was.
No,
just until this morning.
Missed her.
Yep.
Yeah. She just left this morning.
It's crazy.
Heads back to college. She was here for what 3 weeks?
Yeah,
3 weeks ish. Because she's her own person now. You know what I mean? Like she's out doing her thing. So you think about, oh yeah, it's summer break, come back 3 months, whatever. Let's do our thing. It's so much fun, whatever. But she's got all these responsibilities and all this stuff she has to do. So she's heading back, which is great, to see that happen and how far it's come. But
it was crazy.
Oh, that's a funny story.
Yeah.
I should just evil eye you. No, I'm
No,
kidding.
no.
I know.
I
I'm
knew
totally
it was
kidding.
I knew it was yours.
I know.
he was
I'm
like, those college girls, man.
Oh,
I don't know.
dang.
I don't know.
She a party girl.
Yeah.
Not at all.
No, you guys are always like one and the same. Like, it was a total joke.
Yeah, for sure.
That's funny.
So what are we doing? So we're here with Nick, my buddy Nick Fitch. What we wanted to chat about a little bit today, Nick DJs and has DJ'd since back in the day, and we'll chat about that a little bit. But again, just kind of keeping with the theme of a lot of the folks that we talk to from Nebraska, running a Nebraska-based business, running their own business. How has that worked? What are you doing? All these types of things, and those are the kind of things that we want to chat about a little bit.
Yeah, I think one of the interesting things that we've kind of stumbled across, a lot of people have a successful career, in a different world, in a different realm, but they're just not quite happy at their core. And then something triggers them to just, set that aside and put themselves out there and chase this dream, if you will. And some people, risk a little bit more. Other people, kind of work their way into it. I'm just kind of curious, DJing. The joke. I'm sure you've heard it. Oh, yeah, DJ. I own an iPod, too. I have an iPod, too. There's a little bit more that goes into it than that. Yeah. Especially if you're going to make a living. So, did you just totally let go of a security net, or were you already kind of immersed in it? Did you have work early on, or how did that happen for you?
I kind of started, I was interested in it even before I was in college. And then I bought some equipment, like little CD turntable type things when the technology was coming around where you could make like vinyl turntable type sounds with CD equipment. And And so I was interested in that. I remember I bought one, and I told myself, I'm going to play with it a little bit and see if I want to put the money towards a second one, right? First day I got it, I was like, oh, I totally need that second one. Like, I'm totally going to get that other one. And I was doing, I had a friend who was a broadcasting major, and she wanted to do a radio show on the university station, KRNU. And for whatever reason, thought I would be a good co-host. And maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm just outgoing or whatever reason she wanted me to be a
probably
co-host.
Something like that.
Yeah.
You're probably dropping jokes and stuff.
Maybe. And so I started co-hosting that with her and collecting a ton of music because of it. And at the time I was buying all edited music. And back then you had to like go buy the stuff.
I was just going to say.
It wasn't like you just download it.
So what does that look like when you say collect music then?
I had a ton of CDs.
Okay.
Yeah, I was building up a pretty big CD collection.
Okay.
And then after doing that show with her for a while, maybe she graduated, and then I was doing it on my own for a while, if I remember right. But there was this one guy who was a friend of mine, and he was the president of his student organization on campus, and he was going to be having a party, and he was looking for DJs. And he was like, man, these DJs, they charge like, they want $475, man. Like, college kids, like, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
For him as the president, that was a lot of money, and also for me as a kid,
Dude, that's like 3.5 kegs.
Yeah, right? Oh, at that time that was like 4 kegs, 5 kegs, right?
That was like a lot
kegs were a lot cheaper back then.
There's a lot of tacos too.
Yeah. So and he had heard, he was an avid listener to my show. I always promoted that show really hard. And he was like, I know you have all this music. I hear you play this music on the show. And if you had some equipment, because at that time I only had the little CD turntables, if you had like speakers and everything, I would totally hire you for this party. And so then this light just went off, like, man, I could be doing this. And then because I looked into how much the equipment was going to cost, I was going to have to drop like $5,000.
Jeez.
And as a college kid, yeah, I didn't have $5,000 just sitting around. And so I started thinking about how can I come up with this money to get this equipment. And so I going back to what we were just talking about, our fraternity, I went and talked to the exec board. If I remember right, I might have been the recruitment chair at the time, or I was involved enough that I was in touch with the exec board. And I tried to convince them. I was like, okay, if you guys spend this $5,000.
Oh my gosh, I knew you were going to go there.
Yeah. If you guys spend this $5,000, I will do enough parties to pay it off. And then after,
Right.
And I said, basically, I knew that we were paying a guy who I'm still friends with, actually. He still DJs around Lincoln. But he was doing our parties, and he was charging like $375 a night. I was like, well, I'll do it for $275. Knowing, like, this guy's, he's really good.
Yeah.
He's experienced. I just have this music, and I don't know anything about scratching or anything, like mixing. I don't know anything like that. So, but I talked to them, and that was my plan A: get them to pay for the equipment, and at $275 a night, I would work enough. Basically, what did I figure? That's maybe like 20 parties. I don't know. My math probably off a little bit. I'm just rounding, and they shot it down. They're like, no, we're not dropping $5,000. I said, well, plan B starts going through my head. Well, how about if I buy it, will you guys hire me for your parties?
So you got like a secured
right.
income,
So I knew, and at that time we were doing parties like it is different now. We were doing like third-party vendor type parties every other weekend, So like as a college kid, $275 every other weekend. Like once I talked to them with this plan B, that was guaranteed. It was pretty much guaranteed. I mean, yeah, they could have backed out, but like they said that they would hire me. Yeah. So
your 19th party would have put you just over the top.
Good job.
Yep.
Yeah. So quick math there. So then that was my plan B, and they said, yeah, we'll do that. We'll hire you. $275. We're paying $375 right now. So cool.
Sweet. Yeah.
And most of the parties were like 2 fraternities, 2 sororities. And like I didn't get too much work from the other fraternities that we did stuff with, but all the sororities, oh, he plays stuff. Because like I was a college kid. I knew the songs that they liked.
Yes.
And so all the sororities like, we want you for our next party. Cool.
Let's go, right?
Yeah. And it just snowballed.
Oh, I didn't know that's how it snowballed.
Absolutely. That's how it
So
totally
your CD
snowballed.
collection had a lot to do with your initial opportunities.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It wasn't as easy to get music. Like you did have to build up a collection.
Yeah, I mean, who else has Britney Spears and Destiny's Child? You know, all the hits, right?
I don't even remember if Britney Spears was even around at the time.
Yeah, she was
yeah,
our
yeah,
age.
it was.
Yeah, maybe.
97
Hit me,
is.
baby,
I
one
mean,
more
it was-
time.
Yeah.
I wasn't playing a lot of Britney Spears.
Oh, listen to this guy.
I think I was playing like probably some Lil Jon and
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
There was a lot of like
Wait,
kinda
but so
hip-hop and rap.
where
Yeah.
did you get the money? Did you go ask mom and dad?
oh yeah, so that was a major part of the story there. So
Did you get a side job?
Robbed a bank.
no,
Wink,
I'm a
wink.
little nervous that
You
my
said-
mom and dad are gonna listen to this.
Oh boy.
It's all right. It's
I
20 years.
had a credit card.
Oh, okay.
My dad and I were signers on the card. It was supposed to be for emergency reasons.
Hey, this is your life's work at risk. What more could there be?
Hey, you paid it off.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to remember.
Or wait, you still have that balance?
No. It's long. I did have a plan to pay it off, and honestly, I don't even know if my dad even ever found out that I put that charge on there. I don't
Yeah.
know how close he looked at it, whatever. I mean, but I definitely have paid that off for
So
sure.
you hit the card, and then it's
Yeah,
Boom. Off to the races.
yeah.
dropped $5,000 on the credit card.
and that was like heavy, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, that was a lot of money at the
Yeah.
time for
Yeah.
me, especially.
Wow. And I'm surprised your limit was even like,
Oh, I'm pretty sure.
Well,
it
Dad
was
was
like
on it.
Dad was on it.
oh, duh. Okay.
So I'm pretty sure it was like a $10,000 credit card
Yeah.
limit, something like that.
So what a cool story, man! Because and that's exactly the stuff that I love to hear about. Because you get this idea, and then you're driven. You're just like,
Yeah.
this is what I'm gonna do, man. Like, no
Well,
one's
and-
gonna stand in my way. I'm gonna make this happen.
Yes, but no, I had no idea it would continue on as long as it has.
Sure, but you knew that what you were doing initially there,
Right.
that you were gonna outrun that.
Right. I had a plan to pay that.
Yeah.
Like to at least break even. And the crazy thing is, you know, it took like that first school year, I charged everybody, if I remember right, like $275. But the next school year, I was so busy with it that I upped my prices to $375. So like as a college kid, work 4 hours and make
Yeah.
$375.
Yep.
Heck yeah.
Like the last 2 years of college, if I remember right, maybe even because I took 5 years to graduate, maybe even 5.5 or something like that. 5 in a summer, if I remember right. I took one summer class to get my finish that degree. But anyway, something not too long after I started DJing, I paid for the rest of my school with DJing.
Dang.
I had the RA position, paid my room and board, and then the tuition was all DJing.
See, but that's smart.
Graduated,
I mean, you're really
graduated with no school debt.
thinking. Yeah. I mean, that's tough.
And you think about, like, I know so many people who have 60 grand in debt, 100 grand in debt, school debt, graduated with no debt.
Ran through it.
So, I mean, that's something I'm proud of.
Heck
For
yeah.
sure.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
it meant, like, it's interesting because you hear a lot about, like, the debates on should we just
Wipe student debt.
wipe out
yeah.
student debt. And I'm like, I worked a lot of weekends so that I didn't have that debt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could have been out enjoying. I mean, I sacrificed a lot. And I'm not saying, I mean,
Yeah.
There's no doubt that you sacrificed because I remember
yeah,
doing that. You know, like being at the parties.
right. And
And
you
you-
were having a great time.
Yeah, and you're
don't get me
DJing.
wrong, it's a fun
was
job.
fun,
but
sure.
you're
Yep.
working. It's
Yep.
definitely
Yes.
work.
Yep.
And when you're super tired and you got to haul these speakers up flights of stairs
Yep.
and down, like, it's work.
And I remember thinking that.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the DJ is a guy that's no different than I am.
Right.
We're out here. We're in the same environment. We're all out here, all out here to have a good time.
Right.
And he's decided that he's going to work.
First guy there, last guy out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
honestly, like the more I think about it, and as we go through this, I think what you did and what I saw was a big inspiration for, to help drive me to what I'm doing today. Because
Crazy.
I would see that and I would be like, this guy, man, he's giving these things up to do this.
Right.
And I never really understood why.
And at some point, like, I think a lot of people come to that realization, like, at some point as an adult, I wasn't an adult yet, but like, you have to make sacrifices to, like, okay, like, do I want to have a great time, or do I want to make some money and start saving up money, or like whether it's to pay for kids or to at some point maybe you decide to invest for retirement or something. Like at some point you're sacrificing for some future stuff. You know.
Yep.
So yeah, I was just happened to be in college still when I was doing it.
And I'm glad you guys went down this path, because that's what I was thinking when just your average Joe thinks DJ, oh, he's just a partier, oh, he's just out there drinking beers or vodka drinks. No. He's in that environment, but you're on the other side of it.
Right.
You're in the entertainment business, and yeah, you're there, but you're working. So it's an entirely different scheme. I get it through the broadcasting deal. Like, oh, what a tough job. You get to go to football games every Friday and Saturday.
Right.
Yeah, but I got to be there 3-4 hours before kickoff.
Yep. Right.
I got to stay there after. Then when I get home, I got to write an article, or I got to cut a highlight package and talk about it the next day, and then pregame, postgame, like.
And it's weekends.
And it's weekends. Yeah.
You sacrifice your weekends.
And nights,
that's when
right?
people, nights and weekends. And that's when people, the average person is doing family stuff. The average person is doing friend stuff, barbecues with their friends. Like, I didn't think about this until you just brought this up, but I can relate because you are really sacrificing. That's when everybody else is doing social stuff, and everybody looks at my job as a very social thing, but it's like, in a way, it's very antisocial, because you're busy when everybody's having their social time.
And it's cool. I mean, it's fun and stuff. Like, you're interacting with the crowd and those types of things, but those are people that you don't even know.
Right. Sometimes I do know a few.
There might be a couple, but the point is that, like, if you're at the barbecue, like, those are the people that you spend the most time with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's a different kind of interaction.
Yeah, and because I've missed out on a lot of that, like, it makes me value that so much more.
Sure.
Like, now, whenever I think about, like, my friends, and, like, I if I get a night off or a day off, like a weekend day off, it's like, I want to do something with, like, friends,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's hard on relationships,
I
it's
bet.
like,
No doubt.
stuff like that. It's real tough, but maybe it's the
You
same.
really do. Yeah, you really do value your time with
Right.
your family, with your friends, when you don't, especially when you don't have something coming up. Because, I'll do a Friday night football game in central Nebraska. And those are Friday night lights, right? Mm-hmm. Then I got to turn around and do a college game Saturday morning, or kickoff at noon.
Yeah.
Like, that's a quick turnaround. You got to be on. You got to be happy. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's another thing. It's the entertainment business. I can't just roll out of bed and do a college football game. If I tried to do that, I'd get tore apart. I might even get fired. No, I got to be this.
Right.
I need to be this happy-go-lucky. It's not the quarterback's fault. He just needs a little help around. You know what I mean? You gotta
Sure.
you gotta be positive in it. I actually enjoy that, because I feel like it makes me a better me.
And I'm sure there's prep work that goes in.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Just
Big
like
time.
there's prep work with what I do.
You have to do research, and you have to know what you're going to talk
Yeah.
about. I mean, you can't just, like, go into something blindly.
No,
Right.
not at all. Especially when you have all these different sponsors. I always go back to that too, because we own businesses and we tag it or sponsor it or want to support it. And I just think of the gas station or the hotels or whoever is buying advertising time during that football game. Like, man, you better put a pretty good product together.
Sure.
Yeah.
So.
And I guess going back to the DJ business, some stuff, some gigs that I do, because I'm very experienced, maybe I can get away with only prepping 1 hour or something, or even if it's something.
But
I mean,
you gain that.
Almost every gig that I have to do at least some prep, like probably at least an hour, just downloading music, just downloading the new stuff, whatever. But, the one that's on my mind right now, we talked a little bit about it, College World Series. It's 2 weeks away, and I've already been, like, pretty seriously prepping for the past week.
Well, it's a big deal.
Yeah, it's my biggest gig every year.
It's sweet.
Yeah,
I think
we're gonna call.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that people can relate as far as that goes, and for me, what you said was there's like maybe some gigs I don't have to prep as much.
Sure.
But I still get paid the same amount,
Right.
whatever, right? But that's what people have to understand is that you're getting paid for that experience. So like how I can relate to that, like if I relate it to the automotive world, because that's kind of how I came up, you've got these automotive technicians who are professionals in their field, and they've done these things 100 times, and they can do it, very efficiently and so on and so forth, whatever part they might be changing out or whatever problem they might be diagnosing or whatever. They can do it literally. Like it might take your shade tree mechanic 10 hours to do that, and it'll take your professional mechanic 2 hours to do it.
Right.
So should the professional mechanic only get paid for 2 hours?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, because her experience comes in on everything that they've done up until then to be able to get paid for that. You know what I mean? So it's the same kind of thing.
Like when I do weddings, people want their wedding done right. People don't want the guy who just turned 19, got into DJing. Like, he's gonna ruin your wedding.
Yeah.
I mean, I got a lot of love. I got a lot of love for like the young DJs, whatever. Everybody has like something that they bring to the table, but if they don't have some experience, like it's not gonna be the greatest night for this couple. And I do charge a lot for weddings. That's where I pay. Like that's where I really make my money. And sometimes it's rare, but every once in a while somebody is like, that's like $200 an hour. I'm like, you're not paying for the hours that I'm there.
Yeah.
You're paying for the years, the 20 plus years of experience that 100%. I've got.
And you're spot on, and that's why you can get away with only prepping an hour for a certain show, because you already have that experience. You already put in the hours, the time, the experience.
Right.
So like, I don't even like to look at it like that, because if this is the third time I'm calling the same team, like I really don't need to prep. I know the players, I know the coaches, and you build these relationships over time. Like there are certain teams that if I go do a game for them, like I'm on a first name basis with the entire coaching staff.
Right.
So like less prep goes into that, but look at the whole picture.
Yeah.
A lot of prep, years of preparation have gone into this
and
next
also
game.
like going back to that first system that I bought. Yeah, the first system I bought was $5,000, but now I bring over $10,000 worth of equipment to every gig that I do.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of money that's involved too.
There is, 100%.
You mean you don't just hook your iPhone up to a
No.
speaker? Oh.
No.
Okay. All right.
But hey, even if it was just an iPhone and a speaker, I mean, like
That's like 10.
yeah, that's $1,500 right there,
Right?
Yep.
Little
Maybe $2,000.
Bluetooth speaker,
Right.
just jam that thing in.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a little more than that.
Nick
Yeah, no
did
doubt.
our wedding.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a long time ago.
It was.
Yeah. I remember your father with the shotgun. The whole.
Remind me, where was?
We
Down
had the
Nebraska
tornado
City.
That's right.
in
And
Nebraska
it was
City.
in Nebraska City. That's
Yep.
where it was.
Literally
Oh, wow.
a tornado.
Oh,
And
wow.
we moved it. And I remember,
So-
and that's,
Yeah.
a lot of DJs might not have moved.
Oh, exactly. I mean, we're in an
we
out.
moved to an entirely different venue.
We're in an outside barn.
Yeah.
Yes, our invitation said, I don't know, rustic barn. It was
Okay.
a suite in Nebraska City.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we're outside jamming out. I think we played I Danced with My Dad.
If I remember right, we
Ben
did
and
play
I
a few songs.
A few songs, and the cops came and said, there's a tornado coming. Everyone needs to leave or go up to the hotel, the lodge.
So we continued
So-
the party at the hotel.
So the
That's
people
awesome.
that leave literally drive into the tornado. So that was
I
not a
didn't even think
good
about
idea.
that. Right.
Oh no.
So Nick's grabbing all of his equipment. Of course, it's pouring, raining. Go up. I mean, we have to get in vehicles.
I want to say, was it like maybe 3 blocks away, or
It
how far
was-
was it? Like
was
a
fairly
mile?
close.
It was fairly close.
Okay.
We had to load everything up.
Yeah.
And the people that wanted to stay were the young crowd that
Sure,
stayed.
yeah.
I mean, we had to take cover in the hallways for an hour.
Well, and I remember at the time
I
we
am
didn't
not
realize
kidding.
how big of a deal it was. But
It
then
took
the
out a-
news the next day was like, town's
town.
entirely wiped out, and
yeah.
we're like, oh, well, we just
All the
we're
oak trees
partying at this
wiped out.
wedding.
So we're partying in the hallways,
You guys-
drinking. I'm not kidding, Andy. You can't make this up. I'm crying. Ben's like, "Stop crying. We can't do anything about it." You know,
It's
and
not
so,
about that, Ben.
I know. I'm like, I
It's so
plan.
funny.
Yeah,
It's so funny doing this podcast because like you guys are bringing back memories of mine that I kind of forgot. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I don't. It's not that I forget that wedding at all. You can't like forget that
Right.
wedding. But I kind of like forgot that was your wedding. I've done over 600 weddings now.
Yeah.
Like, probably 700.
and that was
you know,
probably
like, lose track. Right?
beginning part of your
Yeah,
weddings.
it was. Okay, how long have you guys been married?
So we just had our
Ask her.
18-year
Oh my
anniversary.
There you go.
Yeah,
Oh,
in
no,
May.
that's right.
Gosh.
Ask
Okay,
her.
so I probably had only been doing weddings for maybe
Probably.
a year or two.
It had to be
Yeah,
early on.
it was super early. So, but then when we get over to the hotel, they only have one area to like everyone hang out in, and this
So-
amazing Marine group was having this. It was, I believe it was Marines. They were having some meeting. I think they felt so bad for me. They gave up their ballroom
Oh, wow.
for our wedding party.
Really?
And we took it over. And we had to order
trying to remember.
pizza.
I love that.
I mean,
I
like,
love that.
It,
And-
it, it was. It ended up being.
Yeah, you know more of the
best
details than
night.
I do. I just know that I had to like
It was a lot of work
pack
for
up
you.
this equipment and
it got
get
wet.
the music started as quickly as possible.
you did
because
it.
you don't want to like have people sitting around like
Right. Mm-hmm.
Dead air.
That's the thing about the music. Like that's what gets everybody going.
Yeah.
right.
So as soon as you got that going, everyone was like,
Oh, we
"Oh,
were like,
shit, the party's back
boom.
on. Let's go."
Right.
You know what I
right.
mean?
I do remember that.
Yeah.
I do remember that it was like, well, we did it. We
I
got
absolutely-
it. Like we're back.
I just love that entire story. I mean, especially for like our international and national audience, like that is Nebraska nice across the board. And you can't
Yeah.
get more Nebraska than our wedding was in Nebraska City in an open aired barn. A tornado was rolling through.
true.
So we went to the local hotel where the Marines were having an
Right.
event and they gave us their ballroom.
Yes.
Interesting.
And
like,
and
yeah.
this DJ here, he's like, all right, and just rolled with the punches and set it up. Like,
Yeah.
you just had so many things fall in line that I just feel like describes Nebraska to a T.
I mean,
Yeah, sure.
honestly, it was amazing. And one of the pluses was all the ladies would know you have to send like thank you cards. Mm-hmm. I had to send like generic ones because cards were not on the right presents. Cards were missing.
wow.
We didn't know who we got stuff from. We still have things. I'm like, I don't know.
idea.
So it was like a generic thank you. Like, thank you so much
came
for.
Joanne still,
was like a-
Joanne still talks
Yeah.
about
Probably all
yeah.
the stuff just got packed
It
up as
did.
quickly
So
as possible.
people were just throwing stuff in their cars. I mean, it was a madhouse.
Yeah.
So, anyways, not to go.
Yeah, it was
But
fun.
it was so cool because that was early again in your career when
Right.
you're talking about weddings.
Yeah, I
And-
had been DJing already so I've been DJing for like 23 years approximately.
Okay.
And I think I started doing weddings about 20 years ago.
Jeez.
So if you guys have
2
been
years
married
in
for-
then.
Yeah.
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 But, you know, and the way I got started doing weddings was I was going back to how I started DJing with the fraternity sorority parties. All these people that were at these fraternity sorority parties then got to recognizing me as a DJ. And one of them, I was on, you guys might know this, but other listeners don't know, I was on like student government. I was real involved in student government. And I was vice president at the time, and he was one of the senators, but he was also in a fraternity and knew me from the fraternity parties. And he was like, I need a DJ. I'm getting married. And he was like, you ever done any weddings? I was like, no, but I'm down.
Sweet.
Like, I'll do your wedding, sure. And it's crazy because I think back, like the amount that I charged him was such a deal. Like weddings, like
They're
you know what I'm saying? Like
Oh,
it's
yeah.
expensive to hire
Yeah.
a DJ for a wedding. Like,
Yeah.
Again, going back to like you want to find somebody who is experienced and really good at it. But this was my first one,
Yeah.
and he was a friend, so it was like, all right, like we'll figure it out. And you know, you kind of learn as you go. I had been DJing, like I said, for 3 years, but there are still some things that you don't know about weddings. Just because you've DJ'd other stuff, fraternity sorority parties, maybe a couple bars here and there, like you don't necessarily know about
Yeah.
weddings. But you know, we met, we went through like different details, and actually leading up to that first wedding, I went to a wedding as a guest like maybe a month prior, and I was like taking notes. I mean, I was
Really?
like, I got to figure out like everything that I need to do, you know.
So
I
you
was
were
right.
studying.
I was absolutely studying. I was writing down like what types of songs is this DJ playing at this wedding, like because it's obviously way different than a fraternity sorority party.
There's an art to it.
Yeah.
There's timing to it, and you got to be on.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's one of those deals where if no one notices you and they're just having fun and they're kicking back, it's like, all right, I did my job.
Right,
You,
right.
you know what I mean? Like
Yep.
there's
No
a big time
complaint,
element
like-
like that. Yeah, no complaints. I did it. You know?
You can make it or break it. I mean, I've been to
Right.
weddings. I'm like, dang, that DJ was like, or the music was amazing, and the other
Right.
ones were like, "Mwah,"
Yeah.
you know. Like
I
think
love
about
that
it. I mean, just like,
Yeah, no,
I
it's
don't
so
know.
true. So
That's
true.
that's a crazy story there, because like just being a student of the game, like just going and showing up and like, how's this working?
Right.
How can I replicate this? How can I make it better?
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's what makes entrepreneurs work. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you talked about like the connections that you were making, and you were in student government
Mm-hmm.
and so on and so forth. It was all by design. Like,
Yeah.
you were doing those things because yes, you enjoyed it, but you had kind of an end game. Like, I'm trying to figure out what I want to do and how is this going to help me to get to this next
It's
step.
interesting because I sometimes think back and I'm like, I should have done things differently. But I went to the university not knowing what I wanted to major in. I came to the University of Nebraska partly because they had 3 different majors that I was thinking about. And you know, not every school has every major or whatever. But Nebraska had the ones that I was somewhat interested. Well, now I have a degree that I don't use at all.
So
because
what is it?
I have a German degree.
German?
I was planning to teach German.
Your degrees in
Are you serious? That's a
German.
thing?
Yep, that's a thing.
Can you speak German?
Ziemlich gut.
what do you say?
Pretty good.
Pretty
well.
good.
Yeah.
Oh, pretty well.
That seems so random.
Yeah.
Nick.
Well, and I was an exchange student in high school.
Oh.
Lived in Germany for a school year. Still keep in touch with my host family here and there. I mean, not super often, but somewhat recently I FaceTimed one of my host brothers and stuff like that. And
You got him on
Hopefully.
Facebook?
yeah.
We hosted. Yeah, we hosted a guy from Spain, and I see his posts regularly on Facebook, just like anybody else. It's awesome
Yeah.
being able to connect with those guys like that.
Yeah, so I was originally planning to teach German. I was an education major with like German emphasis or whatever. And then I found out, kind of like you, finding out you were going to have a little one. So I was closer to graduating when I found out my son was going to be born.
Okay.
And
Are you sure he was yours?
yes, good one. Nice. And well, sometimes I wonder now because he's so stinking smart. way
kid looks
way
just like you,
smarter
though.
than me.
I've
Yeah,
seen
he
the
does
picture.
look
Yes,
just
he
like me.
does.
Yeah.
Just had to. I
And,
had to.
Right, that was good. That was good. She's so witty. So I found out that he was going to be born. I still hadn't done any student teaching, but I was already making more money as a DJ. Still in college, haven't graduated yet.
Jeez.
More money than a teacher would make. So I was like, okay, I'm having a great time. I'm making good money, and like, why am I gonna go? Why am I gonna finish this education degree? So I talked to the advisors, said, what's my fastest way out of here? I just need a degree, and that's why I took that summer course. Because usually teachers, they take 5 years. I was taking my time in college, and but I really, if I had continued and done the student teaching, it probably would have been 6 years. But I didn't. I just wanted to get out of there and have I didn't want to spend 5 years in college and then go DJ and not even have that degree.
Yes,
I was
yes,
like, let me
finish.
get a degree.
Yes.
So I did. I had enough. I had already. When I first got to college, I tested into like 300 or 400 level German because I had been an exchange student. I knew
Jeez.
German pretty well. Almost like, I won't say I was fluent, but like
Well,
I
you
lived there.
there.
I lived there for a school year. So I learned way more than I had ever learned in any class. And so then I was, by the time I was in my 4th year of school, I think I was taking graduate level courses. A lot of even as a freshman, if I remember right, my German class was a combined Like, it was an undergrad course combined with some of the students in there were graduate students.
Wow.
So, yeah, I know some German.
That's cool.
Did you know that, Ben?
I did not know that.
Most people don't.
I would.
Okay.
I had it on my list here to ask you what your degree was because I figured it was not going to be what you're doing.
Most people think I'm a business major, or I was a business major.
Business
of
or
some sort.
communications or something
Right.
like that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Broadcasting.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I wasn't.
Yeah.
I had that. In fact, you were only allowed to have a show on KRNU if you were a broadcasting major.
Oh, really?
But I did because the co-host who started the show, she was.
did. Oh.
But when she left, they just kept me on.
Oh,
Kind of
okay.
grandfathered you in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So
that-
I had this show.
Yeah.
I
I was like
remember.
the only one in the.
I remember driving around town hearing you.
Really?
on
Yeah,
the
we
radio.
would
Yeah.
literally like hang out, at the house or whatever where
Yeah.
all the guys were.
It was Saturday nights.
Yep.
7 to 9. We purposely chose that time slot because we thought, well, it's kind of before people go out, they can be like getting ready
Yeah.
and be listening.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. We would. So we'd have that on the radio. I don't,
Too funny.
I mean, how many people listen to the radio anymore? But we would have the actual radio station, right? Pulled up, and you're doing your thing. We're jamming. We're playing.
Probably calling in and requesting songs.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Calling in,
You guys
requesting
listening
songs.
to a boombox and you had to like move the dial?
Probably.
We were playing foosball or whatever it is we're
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah.
Fitch is on. What's going on? Like, what's the next song?
Right.
I think.
And I took a lot of pride in the fact that, like, that radio station, not a lot of people listen to it, right? And in radio, I don't know how it is now. I haven't done radio in a long time. But in radio at that time, instead of like if somebody calls in for a request, it's not going to ring because you would hear it on the radio all the time. Just like if we had a phone in this studio right now, but the lights would light up. And so our show was 7 to 9, and if I would get in there a half an hour early, those lights wouldn't light up for that first 25 minutes. And then like 5 minutes before my show, boom, 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 lights lighting up, people calling in because I promoted the heck out of that show. And it's still like one of the reasons I'm successful as a DJ when it comes to like the bar stuff that I do. I don't just show up and play music. Like, I make sure that people come out. Like, there's a real value as a DJ, especially in the bar, club type stuff, even concert type stuff. They want to see results. They want to see their numbers improve. Like, the reason they're paying you maybe $400 or $500 is because they're hoping that they're going to see $1,000,
Yes.
$1,500, $2,000 extra in sales.
Yeah.
So-
They want attention.
So, I mean, but it's so funny because that college radio station gig that I had, it was unpaid, like nothing, but I just enjoyed promoting it. I wanted all my friends to listen. I wanted everybody on campus. And it's funny too, as an RA, kind of bringing all this stuff in like full circle, right? As an RA, I had access to like photocopy machines and laminations, like stuff like that. So I was like, I was printing out flyers. There was no benefit. Like as a club DJ, you get a benefit of promoting because maybe then you get paid more like the next time.
Okay.
Yeah, like there's some sort of benefit. That radio show, like I didn't get paid for it. I just wanted people to listen, right? I just enjoyed the fact that people would like tune in and my friends would call.
But see, I think
like,
that's so cool.
yeah,
That you
but it
did
totally
that.
relates to. It's still 23
Yes.
years later, relates to what I do now.
100%. And that's, kids there doing their thing, figuring out the tools that I have at my disposal.
Right.
Figuring it out.
How motivated am I?
Right.
And how do I make this work?
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's the thing is like we get so wrapped up in how does it benefit me? How
Sure.
how am I going to grow my pocketbook? And so on and so forth. But it's not always about that, and especially when you're a kid in college and you're trying to find your way and you're trying to see how things work.
Yeah.
You're doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So cool, man.
And I wanted to mention too, like, I think you kind of made me think of this. You were saying something about like you knew what your goal was and this and that. Man, at that time, I thought I would maybe, even as I was graduating, I was like, ooh, this is a fun job. I'm making pretty good money. I think I was probably like 20, 21 at the time. Well, when I graduated, I think I was 22 maybe. I'm thinking, I could probably do this till I'm 29. At that age, you think of 30 as like so old.
So old.
30 is so old,
Ancient.
right? So I'm thinking I could probably do this till I'm 29, and then I'll figure out what I'm going to do after that. I don't know, right?
Yeah.
Maybe I'll go back to the teaching, like whatever, right?
Right.
Here I am, 43, still doing it.
I love the idea.
So good.
Like
Awesome.
this is how I've always
People keep hiring me. I don't know.
this is how I've always lived my life as well. I don't have a 20-year plan.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I don't have only a tomorrow plan. Like I'm thinking about, okay, what's the next couple of years look like?
Sure.
But I know that no matter what it is, I'm going to make it work.
Right.
And I feel like that's kind of the mentality
Yeah.
that you have.
Well, and I've definitely transitioned. Like, it's not that I don't do top 40 stuff anymore, but I found a couple niches. The wedding stuff, I've started to realize you don't have to be this young, like, cool guy to be the wedding DJ. And that's where the best money is. Remember that guy I was telling you about at the beginning of the podcast that I was seeing and he was making
Yeah.
decent money? That guy is like 10 years older than me. I'm 43. I think he's maybe even more than 10 years older. I don't know how old he is.
Okay.
He's still doing it. So he's at least 53, 55 probably.
Right.
You know, and he is like super successful at it. Like he makes good money.
He's just good at it.
Still every weekend. He could work. He could be working. I don't think he does because he's also a barber and stuff like that. And he has a wife and, you know, like he doesn't want to spend every night doing like his DJ work. But if he wanted to, he could be working 4 nights a week, like DJing every night.
Dang. So if you had to pick, you said you'd rather do weddings for the money, but for the entertainment and like the ease, like would you rather be at a bar?
Oh,
or
the
would
bar
you-
stuff is way easier.
Okay.
Yeah, way less preparation. Weddings.
You don't have to talk. Like
Yeah, I mean, I think
you
that's
do.
one thing that sets me apart too.
Okay.
Like, I'm not shy on the microphone. Like, I whether it's a bar gig or a wedding gig, I'm not this overly cheesy guy who's like trying to make myself the focus.
Yeah.
But I'm also not the quiet guy who doesn't say a word on the mic.
And that's where your radio gave you that experience. You found your voice. You got comfortable with it.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
there's
I
a
mean,
lot to
it's
that.
it's and over time even more so. But yeah.
So, time-wise, I mean, we're getting pretty tight, and we always try to kind of keep this within an hour. But
Sure.
there's one other thing that I wanted to touch on. So let's spend like 5-10 minutes on it, because we've talked about everything that you've been doing, and we talked about kind of from college on.
Mm-hmm.
So, where did you come from? Where did you start? How did you make your decision to get to the University of Nebraska? And how did all that play out for you?
Okay. So I was born in Portland, Oregon,
Okay.
and grew up most of my childhood in Seattle, Washington. So a lot of people are like, well, how did you end up in
Yeah.
Nebraska, right? My great-grandma was living in Lincoln at the time. She had lived in Lincoln for I don't know how many years. I mean, I'm guesstimating like 25 to 40 years. I know that's a large window, but I know she had like season tickets to Husker football games for about that much
Go
time.
Big
Also,
Red.
yeah, I mean, like she was big Husker fan. So she was living in Lincoln, and then I also both my parents are from Iowa, Midwest. You know, I had an aunt and uncle, so my mom's brother. They lived in Omaha with their kids, and one of those kids, my cousin, was already planning to go to Nebraska. And so I had these Nebraska ties,
Yeah.
and specifically University of Nebraska ties. It's funny because I look back, I think I've seen like some pictures of me, and I was on a vacation, and I'm wearing a Husker t-shirt, and you know, and I'm talking at like probably 12 years old, 13
Yeah.
years old, you know. Had no idea that I was going to be going to the University of Nebraska, but I did have these ties. Who knows who gave me that shirt, but so family connections with the University of Nebraska. It wasn't like the school that I was for sure going to go to by any means, but it was maybe on my top 5. My parents were very much like, oh, explore, like narrow it down. They were encouraging me to check out lots of options for schools, not just stay in Seattle, whatever. And And like I said, it was maybe in my top 5. I wasn't the greatest student in high school, good enough to get into college, but it wasn't like I was going to Ivy League, that's for sure. And I thought about playing college soccer. Was maybe going to stay in state and go to Western Washington University, smaller school. I don't even know how big the school is, but it's definitely not huge. But after I visited that school. I visited the University of Nebraska and a couple other schools. But at the end of the day, when I came to visit at the University of Nebraska, I fell in love with the campus and I got an aura about the people here. And it's funny because everybody's like, Nebraska people, it's he's so nice and everything, but some of the campuses that I showed up to, my dad would always line up a place for me to stay. He was in a fraternity and my uncle was in a fraternity. And he was like, I got these connections, so that we don't have to pay for a hotel room. You stay at the fraternity, right?
Yeah.
Well, some of these fraternities that I'd show up at noon on a Saturday, get off a plane or train or something. I would travel to whatever school that I was thinking about going to. And in high school, I was getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I wasn't a partier. And some of these fraternities, I would show up at noon, nobody's answering the door. And then finally, after waiting outside for 10, 15 minutes, somebody finally comes to the door and open the door, and it just smells like beer and puke.
Just hung over.
And I'm like, I don't get the greatest vibe from this school. I don't know what it is, but I just don't feel like I'm going to be successful here.
That's crazy, though. Did your dad not think that would probably happen at a fraternity?
No idea.
It was good. That's smart thinking, right?
Yeah,
you don't have to pay for...
Right.
That doesn't happen at every fraternity.
No, and that's the thing.
Okay.
So my dad was a beta at Iowa State, Beta Theta Pi. So I stayed at the Beta House at Nebraska. And I think I was there on a weekend, and I remember thinking, these guys are talking about studying and video games, right? And it just... I'm sure there were some people in the fraternity that were doing some drinking, but the people that I happened to stay with that night, that weekend, were kids who were focused on school.
Yeah.
And overall good kids, right? I come to school and I didn't get involved in the fraternity system, Greek system right away. But I eventually obviously did. And come to find out, I learned later that Beta Theta Pi at the University of Nebraska happens to be one of the highest GPAs on campus, right?
Oh,
and
I didn't know that.
And it could have been total luck, right? If I had happened to stay at one of the fraternities that was getting the good grades at Western Washington University. Actually, I don't think I stayed at any fraternity at that school. I visited there during the day, but some of these other schools, it's total luck.
Yeah.
You don't know which fraternities are focused on grades and which fraternities are focused on partying and this and that.
Yeah.
But at the University of Nebraska, the Beta House happens to be really focused on they have good students in their fraternity. And so that totally influenced me, but I didn't realize that until after I got involved in the Greek system and then looking back on it 3 years later, that's probably a big reason why I came to the University of Nebraska.
Okay.
Because I happened to get linked up with the fraternity that was 1 or 2 in GPA.
Right.
And I'm thinking, I'm going to do well in school here at the University of Nebraska. But it was really related to the total chance that I stayed with that particular fraternity.
So were you the oldest in your family? Or no?
No, I have an older brother.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So he was already...
Yeah, he went to the University of Michigan.
Okay.
And he was 3.5 years older than me. So.
I got you. So it was just you two growing up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a whole nother story to that. But
Okay.
but that's a whole nother podcast.
Oh, well,
We'll have you back. Yeah.
Here, I'll tell you real quick. So I found out at a much older age that I have a half brother.
Okay.
But I didn't know that until I was 37.
Oh, really?
Growing up, I had a brother.
I gotcha.
Well,
Okay.
that's a whole long story. So.
And you have connections with this one half brother or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've met him a couple times now. I mean,
cool. Well, there's all that 33 and me, or what is it? 23 and me. Oh, I said
yeah.
33.
Well, you're talking about
really
the
makes
genetics,
sense.
websites type thing.
That's what happens when you get older.
Yeah. Oh, wait. What's it called?
So I think we got one more matter of business here, don't we?
We do. So, Nick, we appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
Like, the story's super cool. It's fun to kind of hear all that comes up and how people find their way. I don't know. You guys have any other things you want to dig into on that?
No, I'm so glad to have you here and just kind of
It's cool to remanis.
go
Absolutely.
through some of that stuff, but also there's so many things I didn't know about your past and then coming up. Man.
Hopefully, the whole point is that hopefully it's it's educational and inspirational for folks to
inspiring.
hear somebody who here's what they've done, here's where
Right.
they came from, here's what they're into.
And
How they pulled it off.
One thing about DJing, I'll kind of, I don't want to take too long on this, but with DJing, so many people think it's such a cool job, and I do too. It is a fun and cool job, but it really has helped. When people say you can really do anything, like I never thought that DJing could be like a career. It could be like a real moneymaker, pay all my bills with it, paid for a lot of my college.
Yeah.
Like, you really can if you put your mind to it. I mean, it's just beating a dead horse, like repeating what we've all heard from our parents or whatever.
Right.
But like, if you really want to do something, you can totally do it. You just have to put your mind to it. But sometimes you don't. You hear that from people, but you don't believe it.
Yeah, you got to believe.
Until you you have to make it work. And it's like, I hope my kids have really seen that from me. Realize they're seeing that you can make anything work.
Yeah.
And hopefully they take that, and hopefully somebody listening to this podcast takes that, like, man, if that's something that I would enjoy doing, you can make it. You can probably make a living. You can find that something that you want to do, and call it work, and somebody will pay you to do it.
Yeah.
Right?
If you've got enough determination.
Yeah.
100%. And I think what a good takeaway for me, based on what we've been talking about here, is like sometimes you don't even know. Like, you're doing your thing. You're just trying to make a couple of things happen.
Right.
But you've got that drive. And then all of a sudden you realize, like, oh, man, like, I've been doing this for a little bit, and this is working.
Right.
I'll throw 2 more cents on it. You heard no from your board or your directors there at the fraternity, and that's where it made you go to Plan B and figure it out for yourself. And that's what really, that was a light bulb moment for you.
For sure.
But a lot of people hear no and like, oh, well, gosh darn it, I gave it a try.
Well, and when you had said off audio here, you had said obviously COVID probably was tough for you. You had to transition. You had to figure other things out. Again, that all these things.
That was rough.
But you
That
figured
was a
it
rough
out.
time.
Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? You're not just defaulting on payments for a house or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
You made ends meet. Maybe it wasn't in exactly DJing or whatever, but I just feel like all these things. It is so
hustling,
true,
yeah.
though, going back to you hear your parents saying this or whatever. Now we're the parents saying just put the energy in, put
Right.
the effort into something. You got to be a hard worker, all these things. It's so true. I mean, but that was, you did it. That was you.
Yeah.
So kudos to you.
Well, thanks.
It's hard to
Really.
understand. It's hard to have faith.
is.
But you just got to grind it out. So.
Yeah.
Cool, man. So to kind of close this out, Nick, we've got a couple of things here. So you can see this sweet table you're sitting at.
Yeah.
Good buddy of mine built this thing, hand built this thing. And then we've got this cool little flag here in the middle.
Yeah.
This is made by the Charred Chisel guys, so people can follow them on
Okay.
social media if they want. They make these cool flags. They customize all these things. Obviously, they have our logo on it. But down here underneath this flag
Speakeasy.
is
Whoa.
a little hidden compartment.
Look at that. Boom, boom.
So we've got a couple other groups that we work with. Excuse me. From a drink standpoint, this is Cooper Chase.
Nice.
So these guys are out of West Point. Doug,
West Point, Nebraska?
West
Yeah.
Point, Nebraska.
You
yeah.
bet.
I've done some weddings up there.
There
Have
you
you?
go.
Good old Nielsen Center.
Oh, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. So you've probably seen this liquor and never even realized it
Maybe.
because this is where they're at. So Cooper's Chase, straight out of Nebraska, local grains and stuff like that. The stuff's good, honestly. You're about to try it, so whether you know that or not.
Okay.
And Doug's a good guy.
Doug's great. We did we've done a couple episodes with him,
Yeah.
just launched one last week. But number 2, we have this other group that we work with. These boys make copper mugs. This company's called Handle Bend.
Nice.
So they handmade these things for us to fit in our little speakeasy. Handle Bend's out of
O'Neill.
O'Neill.
Man.
Yep.
I tell you what, like, the guys who made this table, awesome. These cups, awesome.
Money.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
you're working with some good
Flag?
people, man.
Awesome.
This looks
This
like
is
quality
cool.
The
stuff.
bourbon.
Yeah, this is-
You're
I
gonna-
love the
you're-
way, like,
yeah.
you pushed on the table and, like, the secret compartment
Did you
popped
know?
open. I had no idea.
Oh, yeah.
The whole time. You
No
didn't know.
idea. I had
Okay,
no
I always
idea.
wonder.
That's the whole point. We got to hit them with it. So,
Okay.
first of all, we're going to do one
Very
thing.
cool.
First of all, we're going to take a drink.
'Kay.
And then we got one other thing. So, you a bourbon guy or a vodka guy?
Vodka only with, well, if I'm, what, do we have mixers?
No. You're
Yeah,
just going
it's
to
a
taste it.
shot.
Probably
Take a shot?
bourbon then. Probably
Okay.
Bourbon? Okay. You're
You
just
can't
going
go
to
wrong.
taste it.
You can't go wrong with
Wait a
it.
minute.
The bourbon's good.
I mean, unless you want to mix it
Taking
with
shots of vodka.
You want to mix it
straight.
with my Rockstar or something? This is lime.
Yeah. I mean,
Just do the bourbon.
we'll do.
You won't
this
regret it.
bourbon's
Yeah, just do a
fine.
little taste.
well, I'm going to pour some vodka. Normally,
The bourbon
I
is
don't do that.
the bourbon is my favorite.
Okay.
Like
You're
honestly,
special.
so
Thank you.
I don't know how many if you like just drink straight up like some neat hard liquors at all.
Not
But-
too often. Here and
Yeah,
there.
but bourbon is my favorite brown liquor, and these guys nail it.
Well, I'm excited to
Can
try.
have a little bit of
DJs
this.
take shots if people buy them for them?
Good question.
Do you drink much?
You know, because people bring me so many shots, that's almost all I drink.
Yeah,
Do you
Yeah.
just
I
throw it over your
usually-
shoulder? Or?
No, I'm really bad at turning down shots.
yeah.
But I usually start out like if I'm at work, and it's funny 'cause the pretty much the main time that I ever drink in my life is while I'm at work. Most people are like, that sounds backwards.
Well, I'm
Totally.
at work.
Like when I'm not at work, like I'm around alcohol all the time. So it's
funny.
like when I'm
Yeah.
not at work, usually I'm
Yeah.
not. I don't drink. I've got these bottles at my place. Like they've been sitting there forever.
Yeah,
You know.
I hear you.
Oh, funny.
So let's have a quick cheers, and then we got one other quick thing. So appreciate you coming, buddy.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks for
Nice to
coming
see
to
you.
town. Let's have a little taste.
All right.
Oh, jeez.
Smooth.
It's good, man.
That is
It's
good.
You take a lot of shots, right? What do you think?
That's really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cooper's Chase.
Cooper's Chase. Those boys nail it.
I think a lot of that grain that they use to distill with comes out of the Beamer, Nebraska elevator.
Straight out of the
Okay.
elevator.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, cool. So last thing, the Handle Bend boys have gifted us things to give to our guests.
Oh, really?
So this
I'm
is
walking
for
away
you,
with a
man.
gift?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Check this thing out. What do you think about that packaging?
It's very nice. Let's
So,
see. What do we?
Well, you're going to have a hard time opening it. You might have
Okay.
to do it after the fact. So basically, this thing is, I mean, it's all nailed together.
It's a crate.
So they give you this
Crowbar.
this crowbar
Gotcha.
to crank the thing open.
Gotcha.
So you're dealing with handmade copper cups inside there.
Wow.
These
That's
dudes
cool.
literally-
Are they like the same cups that we just?
Yeah, but much bigger because
But a
these
little
ones
bigger.
are these ones
Gotcha.
are smaller for
Those
our
ones
space.
are meant for that. Yeah.
But yeah, so they make those things right in Nebraska. Like I said, handmade. It's cool stuff. So
I'll walk away with a gift.
Yeah.
Let me know when you guys need me back.
Listen to this guy.
Oh, shoot. We're going to have to get something else then, too.
You know, we got a party coming up. We need a DJ though.
probably.
Yeah.
Can we still get that $275 price?
right. Right.
Can we rewind 20 years?
Hey, if it's for Ben and Morgan, like I got it. I got it. I'll take care of them.
Oh,
Yeah,
my
sounds
gosh.
cool.
Very
Yes.
cool. This was a good one.
Yeah. So I that's all I got. You guys got anything else?
No.
Well, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me, and
For sure,
it's
buddy.
Thanks
fun
for coming
sharing
out.
stories. And
Glad
all
you
that.
took the time. It's
Yeah.
it's a hike for you to get out here, but
Yeah, the kids are outside just
somewhat on my way though.
roaming
Yeah.
around on the four-wheelers. And
we have to go make sure nobody
I
got
have
hurt.
to. I have to DJ in Ralston tonight.
Okay.
Anyway,
Yep.
I mean, I know that's not exactly on the way, but it's also not
for sure.
like
Yep.
it's not like I just drove out here and I'm driving straight back to home. You know. so.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. For sure. Cool, man. Well, let me play a little closing music and we'll get the heck out of here.
All right.
Later.
Appreciate
Peace.
you guys.